Hey, this is Nato, fully automated, and what I'm going to talk about today is 5 automations that helped me build my agency to 7 figures. These are 5 automations I wish I had from the start, and these are 5 automations that are the reason why 90% of insurance agents stay small and broke. So most agents don't run any of these that I'm going to talk about, and by the end of the video, you're going to know which one to implement first. This is the same automations that help one of my agents get 100 Google reviews within 6 months. So let's go ahead and get into it. So tell me if this sounds like you. You got a book of business, you got leads in your CRM from 6 months ago that you forgot you even had. You got people that you quoted last week, but you never got back to them. And you got clients that you sold to, but you never asked for a single review and you never asked for a referral. All that money is sitting on the table. That's not future money. That's money that you already paid for. You just haven't picked it up yet. So I call this agent the manual agent. And he's not bad at sales. He's not lazy. He's not dumb. He's just running everything off of his memory and a notepad. He forgets renewal dates, forgets to ask for reviews, forgets the lead for March. Every time you forget, that's a check you didn't cash. So let me tell you, I was that person. I remember printing out leads, right? And then if I didn't sell them, I put them in a box and I said, I'm going to get back to those 6 months later on the renewals. And I never got back to them. So that's one of the reasons why I set up some of these automations that I'm going to talk about. So I was that person. I ran a PNC agency for 5 years before I sold it. For the first 2 years, I just did everything pretty much manually, right? I always forgot to ask for a review. Forgot to ask for referrals. My CRM was full of leads that I never touched. So I was busy, so I told myself, you know what, I'll get back to them later. And I never did. The day I stopped trusting my memory and started trusting automations, my whole agency started to compound. It was same producer, same leads, same market, but a whole different system. And then 2 years later, I sold it for 7 figures. So what I want to do is talk about how you can stack these automations to make a huge difference in your agency, right? So let me go ahead and show you. The first one is called the Reactivation Campaign. This is the cheapest lead you're ever going to get because you already paid for it, right? These are leads that have been sitting in, a CRM, maybe a Google sheet, and maybe it's hundreds, maybe it's thousands, but maybe it's leads that ghosted you, maybe leads that you forgot, but they're not dead. They're just sleeping. One of my members uploaded a list, and then a week later, the list was about 1,400 leads in there. Uploaded the list a week later, sold about 9 policies from just a 20-minute upload, right? And so let me show you guys exactly how this reactivation campaign works. Step one is make sure that you have all the leads in a CSV file. If you guys don't, what you want to do is just compile all of that. And if you guys have like ChatGPT or Claude, just put all those leads and combine them into a CSV file, and then you can upload it into a system, right? So once you do that, the automation stops. You tag it as old lead, and then you send them a automatic text and email, right? So upload the list, and then boom, they start getting hit with text and emails. You guys got to make sure that these are leads that that they opted into your agency. So just be careful with that. You don't want to buy like age leads that you guys didn't opt in and then start emailing them. You might get in trouble for that. But remember, these are leads that you bought in the past or that they engaged with you, right? So you just send them an email. The email can be, very simple. Like, hey, this is Nato. We quoted you in the past and we want to see if we can help you, something very simple, just like that, right? And then see if you get any type of engagement from. It's a very simple automation, but it brings some of these leads back from the dead. Okay, automation number 2. This is the X-Day campaign, right? So what most agents don't understand is about these insurance shoppers. They almost never switch when you talk to them the first time. So let's just say you're running a Facebook ads like we do, and the person you talk to, you're beating their rate, but it's not time for the renewal, right? So maybe what you want to do, and that's the reason why they don't want to switch at the point. I know you can convince them to switch at this point, but let's just say you can't, right? So you put them in an X-Day campaign, and then that way, 30 days prior to the renewal, you start hitting them up with text, email, and maybe a phone call. So that's what this automation is about. Okay, so here's the workflow on this one. So every prospect you talk to, you ask them one question: when does your policy renew? So that date goes into your CRM or our lead system, right? And then it triggers 30 days prior to their renewal date. It'll send them a text, an email, and also you might want to give them a call also. And then you follow up with them for up until their renewal date in order to sell them, obviously. So this is a pretty easy automation that you guys can set up, and it works really well because you're hitting them up right before their renewal. So it's going to be a time where they have a pain point because their renewal probably went up, or that's the time that they really want to shop for insurance. So this is a really good automation for you guys to implement. Automation number 3, these are quoted, not sold. 80% or more of the people that you sell to, unless you're a really good salesperson, are going to tell you no. So 80% of those no's is a no right now. The prospect is gonna buy insurance because they have to, right? The only question is whether they're gonna remember your name when they do. So what this automation does is, when you don't sell a policy, you nurture that client until you're top of mind. So when it's time for them to say yes, you're going to be the person to go to. So here's the workflow on this one. And by now you're probably seeing that most of these workflows are pretty much the same, right? Maybe you're changing some of the verbiage in the text and the email, but they're pretty much the same, right? So on this one, how this works is, they said no, you move them into a stage on your pipeline that was quoted, not sold. And then you have an automation that nurtures these people. It could be 90 days. It could be 6 months. It could be a year. In marketing, there is a stat that says a person will not buy from you until they see you on average 7 to 10 times. So I see that all the time. There's people that I've been nurturing in my email list for years, and they finally purchase. So remember, it takes a while for someone to get comfortable with you, because a lot of times when you're getting these leads, you either bought these leads, or maybe you like us, you're generating leads on Facebook, and in the beginning they don't know who you are. That's called a cold lead. But if you nurture them, they get to know you a little bit by some of the emails, some of the tips that you're sending. Eventually they will buy from you. So this automation works really well. All right, automation number 4. This is what we call the review automation. And this is the one I was talking about, where my client got over 100 reviews in 6 months. And, same agent, same clients, but he automated the process. I remember at the peak, we had about 15 sales agents, and every Monday I would have a meeting. And every Monday I would remind our salespeople to ask for a review, ask for a referral. And guess what? They never used to do it. So I had to automate this process, and it works so well. And here's one of the unique things about this review automation. Well, actually, let's go into the workflow on this. Okay. So you make a sale, you move it into the sales stage on your pipeline. And then that's when the timer starts, as far as the 24-hour timer saying, hey, thank you for doing business with us. Thank you for trusting us with your coverage. Quick favor. How would you rate us from 1 to 5 stars? So if they rate you, here's the unique thing here. If they rate you anything under like 4 stars, some of my guys only want 5 stars, but most will take a 4 or 5 stars. But anything under that, it kicks it back to you guys and notifies you that this person is going to leave you a bad review. And it doesn't actually post it on Google. But if they leave you a 4 or 5 star review, it actually goes and posts it on Google. So that automation works really well. That way you never get a bad review. It allows you to go fix, the issues that you have with those clients that are not happy. So one other thing that I wanted to say about this part is, most people are the happiest when you sell them a policy. Either, you must have did a good job for them, to go with you, right? So you either save them money, gave them a better policy. Typically, they're not going to be upset when you sell them a policy, but we still have that in place just in case. I wouldn't try to get a review. I mean, you can, but it's a lot tougher to get a review months later after they sold a policy. Here's why. A lot of times they've already had issues with the insurance policy that you sold them. Maybe they had a claim that didn't pay out, and obviously you as the insurance agent are always, it's always on you, right? So if they had a bad claim, they might leave you a bad review, even though you didn't have anything to do with it. So you definitely want to start getting reviews right after the sale. That's when you're going to get the happiest customers. All right. So the last automation is the referral automation. And I told you guys earlier that I used to always forget to ask for, a referral. It was part of my process, but a lot of times I would get excited because I already sold the home and auto and I just totally forgot to ask for a referral. But these referrals can really compound on each other, because if you get one client that sends you two, three other people, and then those three people send you three more people, it's like a never ending leads. And those leads are always the best, right? They're way better than an internet lead, even though that's what we do. A referral is always going to close at a higher percentage because someone else trusted you to send them over. So you also want to automate this, just like the review. You want to automate this also, because this will do it every single time, without question, right? All right, so this is how that automation goes: is again, after the sale, maybe you want to wait maybe like a week later, and then send them a text or email saying, hey, love you as a client. Do you know anybody else that could use my services? That's one way to get a review. You can also incentivize them and maybe give them some kind of gift card if you're allowed to in your state. Every state's different, so check on that. Now, you definitely want to automate this process where you're asking with email and text. But one of the things that worked really well for us was asking the client if they were on Facebook to make a post on how we helped them. Maybe we saved them money, maybe we had a better policy, and then tag me in that Facebook. Every time a client did that, I literally got so many people messaging me on Facebook. So I like to not only automate the process of referral, but also let them know to post me on Facebook. And also on top of that, I would give them a template on kind of what to say. And that really worked really well, because a lot of people, when I asked them that, they wouldn't do it because they didn't know what to say. But if you gave them a template, they would do it, because people do want to help you. But that's a really powerful one. When someone brags about you, is way better than you bragging about yourself. So for me, let's just say I make a post saying, hey, I just saved John $900 a year on his policy. Nobody cares. But if John posted on his Facebook, hey, Nato was awesome. He helped me with my policy. He got me better coverage, and he saved me $900 here locally in Houston. That means a lot more than you saying it, right? So automate that process. And then on top of that, to supercharge it, have them post you on Facebook or any other social media. All right. So those are 5 automations that are guaranteed to make you money. You don't have to implement all of them all at once. Start with the one that you think is going to give you the most money. If you have a big list out there, start with the first automation that we talked about. Upload the list and start contacting people in order to get your sales, right? But eventually, what you want to do is you want to implement all of these 5. Now, we have a ton more automations in the fully automated program that we have, but these are some of the 5 that I think are the most important. And I ran my agency for 5 years. And remember, I told you for the first 2 years, I had no automation. I did everything manually. So agents that start implementing things like this and start automating their agency are quietly building their $1 million agency, while everyone else is on Facebook complaining about lead costs and lead quality. And you can see how some of this starts snowballing, right? You start getting reviews, you start getting referrals. So once you install these 5 automations, and from the reviews, you start increasing your visibility on local searches, right? And if you guys want my team to set this up for you, on top of the lead generation that we do, just click on the link below and we'll have a talk, and we can implement these in your agency